30 Things You Never Knew About King Charles III. The UK, along with the rest of the world, is in mourning for the loss of the longest reigning monarch in British history, Queen Elizabeth II. Her son, Charles, is getting ready to be crowned King Charles III. It will take some time for us to know what kind of king King Charles III will be. But till then, here are 30 things you never knew about King Charles III. Number 1. He was the longest heir in waiting. King Charles III was more than ready for the role when it came to him at the age of 73. This makes him the longest-serving heir in British history. Charles was just 3 when his grandfather, King George VI, died, and his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, ascended to the throne. Matthew Halton of CBC Radio told listeners that he wouldn't be king anytime soon. If his grandfather, the king, and his mother, the princess, both live the full span of life, he may well be 50 or 60 years old before he ascends the throne. Charles was 73 when Queen Elizabeth died, ending the longest ever reign in British history. Number 2. He received the title of Prince of Wales when he was only 9 years old. The title Prince of Wales is only given to a male heir, but it is not an automatic appointment. When his father, King George VI, died in 1952, King Charles went from 3rd to 2nd in line to the throne. In 1958, when King Charles was 9 years of age, he was given the title of Prince of Wales and its conjoining title, Earl of Chester. Although he was the longest-serving Prince of Wales, he might have held the title even longer if he had been appointed earlier. Number 3. He was the first British royal heir to earn a degree. King Charles III was the first British royal not to be homeschooled. He went to Gordonstoun, a private boarding school in Scotland. His father, the late Prince Philip, had also studied at the same school. He then attended the University of Cambridge in 1967. He studied archaeology and anthropology, later changing it to history. He graduated in 1970. He was the first heir to the throne to get a university degree. Number 4. He was bullied at school. Just because you are royalty doesn't guarantee that you are immune to bullying. Children can be vicious. King Charles went to boarding school in Scotland, and his classmates often picked on him. Charles didn't retaliate, but was open about it with his family. "The people in my dormitory are foul," he wrote in a 1963 letter. "Goodness, they are horrid. I don't know how anybody could be so foul." Number 5. At 14, Charles caused a national scandal. When Charles was 14 years of age, he rowed on a Gordonstoun school sailboat to the Isle of Lewis pub. He ordered a cherry brandy for 2 shillings and a 6pence. It was illegal for people under 18 years of age to be served alcohol. While it may not have been a big deal, a reporter was sitting at the bar, unfortunately for Charles. Naturally, it caused a royal scandal. Charles's bodyguard, Don Green, lost his job as a result. Number 6. He once built a town. King Charles III built the town of Poundbury in Dorchester, England. Charles has always been very interested in urban planning and development. He wanted the town to blend traditional architecture and modern urban planning. Construction of the town began in 1993 based on the principles of new urbanism. Charles appointed renowned architect Leon Cryer to work on the 400 acres of land. Today, the town has a population of around 4,200 people. When I set out on this venture, I was determined that Poundbury would break the mold of conventional housing development in this country and create an attractive place for people to live, work, and play. People said that it could never succeed, but I am happy to say that the skeptics were wrong, and it is now a thriving urban development alongside Dorchester, said King Charles III. Number 7. He is an accomplished painter. Charles is an accomplished painter. In fact, he is one of the most popular living painters in the UK today. King Charles mainly creates watercolor landscapes. Since 1997, his artwork has generated nearly $3 million in sales. His lithographs sell for anywhere between $3,600 and $21,000. The money from the sale is donated to the Prince of Wales Charitable Foundation. Number 8. He has a green thumb. King Charles loves farming and gardening. In fact, he has quite the green thumb. He once said about his gardening, "I happily talk to the plants and trees and listen to them. I think it's absolutely crucial. Clarence House also has tweeted that after Charles plants a tree, he often gives a branch a friendly shake to wish it well. Number 9. He does not let food go waste. Charles is entirely against food waste. It might not seem very royal for a prince to pile leftovers into Tupperware, but Charles hates wasting food. If we made roasted lamb and there were leftovers, we'd probably go make shepherd's pie the next night, former royal chef Carolyn Robb told a biographer. The prince was very economical and very much believed that nothing should go to waste. If there were leftovers, they'd be used one way or another. If not for him, then rehashed and used for a meal the following day. According to his former private secretary, Clive Alderton, Charles would even pack up leftovers from tea time and reuse them until they were over. Number 10. He has established an organic food brand. Charles is passionate about providing good quality food to the masses and established his own company, Dutchie Organics, in 1990. He donates all the monetary profits from the company to charity. During a Soil Association event, he announced that the very future of humanity may depend to a very large extent on a mainstream transition to more sustainable farming practices, based of course on organic principles. He is known for bringing organic food to the royal family's Christmas celebrations, according to former royal chef Darren McGrady. Number 11. His car runs on wine. We are really not kidding you guys. For his 21st birthday, Charles was gifted an Aston Martin by the Queen. As incredible as it was, the car burned a lot of fuel, creating a lot of carbon emissions. This was a sore point for Charles, who was very passionate about the environment. So, Charles went to the engineers at Aston Martin and discovered that the car could run on white wine, or whey blend. Although they advised him not to use this blend for fuel in his vintage car, Charles explained, "I said, well, I don't drive it then." So they got on with it. And now, they admit that it runs better and is more powerful on that fuel than it is on petrol. And also, it smells delicious as you're driving along. Number 12. He is part of a mysterious magic club. Charles has a love for magic tricks. In 1975, he was even inducted into a magic club, the Magic Circle, after performing a cup and balls trick. He was invited by his great-uncle Earl Mountbatten, who had himself been a member of the secretive association for more than 2 decades. However, the decision to induct him into the club had already been made, and his certificate was awarded to him that night. Number 13. He has published a children's book. In 1980, Charles wrote The Old Man of Lochnagar, based on a story about a Scottish man that he told his younger brothers, Andrew and Edward, when they were little. The book was an instant classic. It has even been adapted into an animated film, a musical, and a ballet. The proceeds from the book go to Charles's charity for at-risk kids and young adults, the Prince's Trust. Number 14. Charles first met Lady Diana Spencer when he was dating her older sister. In his 20s, Charles had quite the reputation as a player. Any girl with a family pedigree was considered a potential princess. In June 1977, Charles met Lady Sarah Spencer at a party at Windsor Castle. The two invited each other to polo and shooting events. In November, on one such trip, Charles went to the Spencer estate Althorpe, where he met Sarah's younger sister, Diana, who was 16. In Bedell Smith's 1999 biography, Dana in Search of Herself, Portrait of a Troubled Princess, Sarah, after going on a Swiss ski vacation with Charles in 1978, told the media, "There's no question of me being the future Queen of England. I don't think he's met her yet." Number 15. He didn't really want to marry Diana. Charles and Diana had just met 13 times before they got married, and nothing changed the fact that Charles never got over his first love, Camilla Parker Bowles. When Charles was 23, he was introduced to Camilla and fell in love with her. But soon after, he left for the Navy, and by the time he came back, Camilla was engaged to her former flame, Andrew Parker Bowles. He had even told his friends that he wanted to get out of the wedding. Diana was famously known for saying, "There were 3 of us in the marriage, so it was a bit crowded," in reference to Charles's love for Camilla. Number 16. He was the first heir to the throne to get a divorce. After a wedding that had been rocky right from the start, Charles and Diana finally separated. After their engagements, an interviewer asked them whether they were in love. Diana said, "Of course." Charles added, "Whatever in love means." In 1996, they were granted a divorce. Charles was the first heir to the British throne to have been ever granted a divorce. 1 year later, Princess Diana died in a car accident in Paris. Number 17. Charles is not the best at giving gifts. In 2003, Ozzy Osbourne had an almost fatal quad bike crash in early December. As a get-well-soon present, Charles gifted him a bottle of whiskey. That's a nice gesture. The only problem? Ozzy Osbourne was a recovering alcoholic at the time. Naturally, Ozzy's wife, Sharon, wasn't very pleased. Number 18. Charles helped launch a clothing line in 2020. While his fashion game has always been on point, you might be surprised to learn that the king is partially responsible for Net-a-Porter clothing collection. Charles partnered with the Modern Artisan Project to support fashion students through his foundation. The aim was to launch a sustainable clothing line using the latest technology. Charles said in his statement that he was enormously impressed by the work produced and was hopeful about the vision shown by the designers. Hopefully, they will take away a great deal of skill and understanding of sustainable approaches to design and manufacturing that they can apply to their own businesses or future careers, he shared. The key for me is to rediscover the importance that nature plays, understand where natural materials come from and how they can be used in exciting and innovative ways, he said. Number 19. He can play the cello. Charles is very skilled when it comes to music. He knows how to play the piano and trumpet. Also, he learned how to play the cello. Although he considered himself hopeless at it, he continued to learn how to play the cello. He even participated in the Trinity College Orchestra when he was an undergraduate. Number 20. His Secret Service nickname is Unicorn. When certain dignitaries visit the US, they are given their own code names. Charles's Secret Service nickname was Unicorn. This mythical name is somehow apt for the king. The unicorn is the national animal of Scotland and has been part of its coat of arms for more than 600 years. The first recorded example of a Scottish monarch using a unicorn as a symbol of strength was in the late 1300s. Robert II and III used unicorns as part of the arms and gateway of Rothesay Castle on the Isle of Bute, Scotland. One of King Charles III's earliest titles is Duke of Rothesay. Number 21. Richard Nixon tried to set King Charles III up with his daughter, Tricia. When Charles was 21, he and his sister, Princess Anne, who was 19 at the time, took a trip to Washington, D.C. Being royal dignitaries, they were shown the sights, taken to museums, and given rooms to stay in the White House. During this trip, President Nixon tried to set the then prince up with his eldest daughter, Tricia. He tried to have Tricia seated next to Charles on every occasion, which annoyed him. Even though nothing happened there, Charles found it amusing. Bedell Smith's 2017 biography states, many years later, on a visit to Washington with Camilla, he was still laughing about Nixon's attempt at matchmaking. Number 22. He has a frog named after him. In 2012, a new and endangered species of Ecuadorian tree frog was discovered, and it was announced as the Hyloskirtis prince charlesi, or Prince Charles Stream tree frog, in the journal Zootaxa. The frog was named after Charles to recognize his rainforest conservation work. Charles has always been very outspoken about the dangers of climate change and the need for conservation. He also established the Prince's Rainforest Project in 2007 as a charity and awareness campaign. Number 23. He is a very picky eater. Charles is known to be a picky eater. He needs to have his eggs boiled for precisely 4 minutes. He also asks to be served tea, muffins, and 7 boiled eggs every day between 4 and 5 p.m. sharp. His breakfast consists of eggs or wheat germ and cereal with honey, fruit, and tea. There's more. He asks his chefs to put poached eggs on top of every meal, steam his vegetables in a specific type of mineral water, and make his orange and damson gin from the fruits grown at Highgrove. One of his favorite meals is lamb with wild mushroom risotto. Number 24. He is a workaholic. King Charles III is a workaholic. As a prince, he used to work all 7 days a week. He often started work after breakfast and finished up around midnight. In the BBC documentary Prince, Son and Heir, Charles at 70, Prince Harry said, "He does need to slow down," referring to his father in the documentary. This is a man who has dinner ridiculously late at night, and then goes to his desk later that night and will fall asleep on his notes, to the point where he'll wake up with a piece of paper stuck to his face. His wife, Camilla Parker Bowles, says his extreme work ethic is because he would like to change the world. Number 25. He has performed in Shakespeare plays. Charles supports the arts and has quite a soft spot for Shakespeare. This might go back to when he was a teenager and stole the show after he played Exeter in his school's play Henry V. He also played the lead in Macbeth. In 1991, Charles referred to the Bard as the world's greatest playwright, perhaps the world's greatest poet. In 2016, Charles also appeared in a skit for BBC's Shakespeare Live. Number 26. He got in trouble for a plane crash. Charles was interested in aviation and requested flight training from the Royal Air Force while studying at Cambridge. He then trained as a jet pilot in 1971 and qualified as a helicopter pilot in 1974 while serving in the Royal Navy. Charles was once a passenger on a Queen's flight passenger jet when Captain Graham Laurie let him take the controls. The plane faced high winds, and Charles instinctively brought the plane down at Port Ellen a bit too fast. The aircraft crashed, and the damage cost around £1 million. Number 27. He has a really long royal name. The full official title of Prince Charles was, are you ready for it? His Royal Highness Prince Charles Philip Arthur George, Prince of Wales, KG, KT, GCB, OM, AK, QSO, PC, ADC, Earl of Chester, Duke of Cornwall, Duke of Rothesay, Earl of Carrick, Baron of Renfrew, Lord of the Isles, and Prince and Great Steward of Scotland. Now that he is the King of the United Kingdom, he will have a few more titles added to his name. Number 28. He survived an avalanche in 1988. Charles was skiing with a group of friends in Switzerland in 1988 when an avalanche came tearing down the mountain. Due to sheer luck, Charles escaped without a single bruise. However, this natural disaster did kill one member of his group and a former royal aide, Major Hugh Lindsay. When he was rescued by a helicopter, Charles was reportedly weeping. It does sound like a major enough incident to shake someone up, but things got even more complicated later, as Charles was investigated in the aftermath of Major Lindsay's death. It turned out that an avalanche warning had gone out earlier in the day, but Charles ignored it, and the rest of the group followed. Charles wasn't charged for any involvements, but it clearly did not portray him in a good light in the media. Number 29. He is a distant relative of Dracula. So, Charles is not technically a distant relative of Dracula. Still, he is related to Vlad the Impaler, or Romania's Vlad Tepes, the 15th century warlord who inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula story. According to NPR, Prince Charles said during a 2011 interview, "Transylvania is in my blood. The genealogy shows that I'm descendant from Vlad the Impaler, you see." Number 30. He is a fan of the Harry Potter books. If there's one thing in the UK that's as popular as the royal family, it's Harry Potter. The series is a huge hit and has die-hard fans worldwide. If you are a Potterhead, you might also enjoy the fact that Charles is a fan of the series. Julie Walters, the actress who played Molly Weasley, once said, "The prince said he loved the Potters, and said what great films they were and what great fun they were." How many of these facts did you know? Which fact surprised you the most? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like and share it. Subscribe to our channel for more content like this.